weird in the background.
Hello and welcome to the Live Rally Game Podcast. My name is Steven and I'm here to talk about Surviving Bloomington, Episode 7 or Chapter 5, depending on the nomenclature. And this is Part 2. And joining me today to unpack the wild structure of this episode and the second tribal council, we have the reigning champion that we know of Surviving Bloomington, Order vs. Chaos, Rachel. Rachel, how are you doing?
Spoiler alert. There's no champion in this season. I just keep it forever. I'm like a little dictator.
Well, I was excited for the Edge of Extinction twist where you come back in the game at Final 7 and just dominates. Right? I know we're not supposed to talk about it, but we just have to because you're here.
Yes. I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy to dive in. This was such a crazy. There was so much happening, and some of it I didn't even know was happening until much later. So I'm glad to unpack it all.
So before we dive into the episode structure, we talked at the beginning of the season, or right before a cast analysis. What are your thoughts about the season so far?
I am loving it. I think because all these players had the advantage of knowing about the keys and thinking through how am I going to use these. They knew there might be twists. Like obviously they didn't know about mischief things, but they knew like this is something I need to think about in preparation. So you can tell they've been considering it, and now you're seeing all the chaos unfold. And it's exciting. I'm amazed every time to just see these people play. And I've been even though there are a lot of people I knew going in, there were several people I didn't. And I have loved seeing all these rookies just show up and not act rookie at all, to be honest. And just falling in love with all these new players. And we can get into all those players later, but that's all.
So for viewers and for listeners, you might be wondering, where's Drew? And the answer is, this is a comment from Drew. Hey friends, I'm actually on Survivor 49 right now. And Jeff told me I could have my phone just for tonight to listen to the podcast. We'll have some inside scoop in Survivor 49 and what Survivor is like when you have access to social media. It'll be very exciting for when Drew returns from his journey.
No letters from home, but you get to listen to this podcast.
Even better. So let's talk about this episode structure, and I'll go ahead and bring up the flow chart I made because this is for me. It was helpful to visualize how everything's linked together. And so, just to kind of briefly describe for those who are listening, this episode is called the Mandala Effect. And the idea of the Mandala Effect is different people may experience something and have different memories. And what you may not realize when watching this episode, depending on which tribal council you follow first, the red tribe Hospitium or the blue tribe Dignitas, you got different you got episodes edited different ways with different contents, with different Redemption Island scenes and different post-scene footage as well. So you had very different experiences. And when Drew was telling me about this episode, he's like, there's a list of all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And like, I watched the episode. He's like, no, there's all this stuff. I'm like, no, like I can just go from red one to this blue episode. He's like, no, that's a different episode. And I was like, Mandela. Yeah, it's all part of the fact, Drew, with my lack of pronunciation. It's like 8 episodes of CBS around to pronounce Say's name right. What can I say? Yeah. So, Rachel, I started with the red side of the tree here. So I watched Hospitium 1 first, the Anxious Cloud. How did you watch this episode?
Okay, I also did red first, then blue, Mischief Maker, then post-tribal. Then I went back to that original red and did Redemption, the Fire is Lit, I think. Mm-hmm. And I thought that I was done. Like, I thought I was extra because I went back and did that. And I did not know there was anything more or anything different until, Steven, you messaged me and you were like, yeah, we got to see 2 Mischief powers played. I'm like, what? I did not remember that at all. And like, to be honest, of course, there's times where I might not watch as closely or get distracted and might miss a detail. I was like, but that's a pretty big detail to miss. And you were the one that's like, oh, all the episodes are different. I was like, so.
And by difference, like, I think we're talking about like 80-90% the same, but there's some key stuff in each episode, and the way they're edited and ordered is different as well.
Right. Yeah, just enough to make it a little bit different, but then it would have you second guessing if you didn't know what Casey was wheeling.
Yeah, for me, so I started with the Red Tribe. So I watched Anxious Clan, and I was like, I'm going to do Blue next week. So I watched most of the Red stuff, and then last week, and then did all the Blue episodes this week. But I did watch, Anxious Clan, Red 1 before Cruel Irony, and then I watched Still before Mischief Maker. And something we'll need to extract from KC postseason is like, which version is his favorite version? Which is like, do you say like is the true? I mean, he'll probably say both are canon. It doesn't matter.
I do actually have a text message to answer that question.
Wow. Okay.
I don't know. He said something like he likes starting with red first. Like I said, I did red then blue, and he's like, yeah, I think that's the better edit. Okay. But I don't know much further than that.
Now, what'd you think of the final?
Or he said, I think that's my favorite path, quote. So I don't want to misrepresent him.
What did you think of the final video? The one that you get when you watch the 2 Redemption Boot players? How long did you watch it for? I need to know it. Well, how long did you keep it on?
I didn't watch very long. I kept. This is embarrassing. This is not good podcast prep, but I kept fast forwarding. Surely it's not all dancing. Did I miss anything, Steven? Did anything but dancing happen?
Let's be honest. I only watched the first minutes of Eric dancing in a loop, and like you see the comment from Hannah and on that video. She's like, I left the room and it was on, and then just kept playing. I was like, what is happening? And I was feeding my kid, and I couldn't change it. So for those who haven't found the final video yet. It is a Easter egg of sorts of Eric in a 3-second loop of something that happens in the episode. And if you haven't watched it, I'd recommend going back and finding it just to bask in all of its glory. And that's all I'll say.
Well, you just feel like you've been trolled. Like you finally get to the end of the lap.
Let's be honest.
Here it just keeps looping and looping and looping. And my kids didn't come on when that was on, but they came on when we were seeing the voting confessionals of all the noses, and they're like, why are they wearing clown noses? There's always something that surprises them in the clips they see.
We take Bloomington very seriously. I don't know what they're talking about.
Oh man.
So it's when we're going to talk about the Blue episodes today, and we're going to kind of conflate the two because I think like there's a fair amount of overlap between them. I didn't like parcel out what's in each specifically, but we'll talk about the 2 Blue episodes. We'll talk especially that posting from Dignitas. I think there's a moment there that really stood out to me. And then we'll talk kind of a little about the next time on Survivor aspect too. Sound good to you?
Sounds good. Do you want to start with Still Me, or do you want to go with?
I mean, we'll start with the challenge, right? So both tribes are doing.
I love this challenge. That is a challenge you want to play. The lighting, just like the build of intensity. That's the first thing I texted Casey. I was like, this challenge, the lighting. I mean, you just get chills thinking about like that's what you want to see on Survivor.
I mean, Drew was saying last week how there was plans for us to have a night challenge in our season, and just things didn't work out, so we were robbed. But the bottles and the lighting, the cam work, there were some great shots.
Yeah, that was awesome as a viewer.
How would you have done?
I'm sure. Huh? How would I have done?
How would you have done this challenge?
Well, I would not have won. I don't think. I mean, you never know. The unexpected can happen.
Mm-hmm.
Physical strength isn't. I can balance, but I don't think I probably would have landed in the middle if I have to guess.
So one of the things I know we've talked about pre-episode is favorite players this season, and I haven't. And like I was kind of like, I think I know who one of your top players is. And so let's go ahead and talk about Brittany, because Brittany
Yeah.
pulls out a victory, beats Zach at the very end, which, as we will find out, matters a lot that Zach loses immunity, and this essentially costs him maybe the game if he doesn't win at redemption. But Brittany wins, and later on the episode we get a very passionate confessional about Brittany, kind of dealing with this is where we get the quote, "I'm still me."
Yeah.
And so, what was your thoughts? Tell me about Brittany. What are your thoughts about Brittany, and especially being a mother in Survivor?
I could talk an hour, but I'll try to keep it short. I have so much respect for moms that get out there and play their game, and it is a unique sacrifice as a mom to, even if you know you need something for you, there's still that lingering guilt. And it's like, you need to do it and you do it, but maybe I shouldn't do it. And you're going back and forth. And so your mind is also always on your kids too. Like you're always thinking back, and it was I've left my kids before, but I always could FaceTime or text or get pictures. And so to have a period of time where I had really no contact, I knew if an emergency happened, they would probably find a way, but to not see them and hear from them, it breaks your heart, and you think about it, but then you try not to think of it because you would cry, as we saw Brittany cry. But I felt that in my soul when she was talking about still being me, and I just love it. I relate so much. And that the part where she was like, I hold my toddler on my hip and my bicep is burning. And that's where she found the strength to keep going. My biceps aren't as big, so maybe I should find more toddlers to carry.
You don't simply curl and weightlift your kids in your spare time.
But it was such a beautiful and powerful moment. I rarely cry when I watch stuff. I just don't, but I did shed a few tears, I will admit. And so I just love seeing her. And I think she's in a good spot, even with the immunity win. I'm not too worried about her yet.
So let's kind of talk more about Brittany's strategy this round. So Brittany being immune, that's a huge bonus, right? Because there's a fair amount of names thrown out. I think we hear 4 different names over the course of the episode. We hear Maggie's name, Eleanor's name, Zach's name, and Allison's name. And Brittany's name can't come up. And I don't feel like we get a good sense of where she is in this drive, but we know I think she's feeling good about Jacob, and she's feeling good about all the original blue.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I was going to ask you what you thought would happen if Zach wins immunity there. I think they might still pile on Allison, but then there could have still been a thrown vote. We could have seen an Eleanor or a Maggie get a vote and gone home this round, and that would have shattered this perfect little blue group they have going on. That would really affect Maggie,
I felt Maggie was most at risk. Did you get that feeling? Or
I thought so. I knew it was kind of a ruse. It wasn't a true conflict between Maggie and Eleanor, but Zach said Zach said he was supposed to put Eleanor, and he didn't, in that jumping ahead in his final thing. So if he would have put Eleanor, then Eleanor goes home and there's no revote. But yeah, it did seem like there was a potential for a Eleanor or Maggie vote to get thrown. I'm kind of surprised no one threw a vote, honestly.
Yeah, so let's talk about this. So when we watch the Red Tribe, the Hospitium tribe, they enact a 3-2 vote that ensure that either Eric or Trace goes home. Eric has successful immunity with shots in the dark or the keys. Trace goes out. It's their plan worked easily. In this case, we hear also the split vote. There's discussion around hey, let's split between Allison and Zach. That way, if someone plays something, and it should have been open shut, but it ends up not. It ends up just being a 5-0, 6-0 dog pile all on Allison as a result. And so, and so you were surprised by that, because I was.
I think it's a rare thing, especially in the modern Survivor, to see everyone stick together and not throw a vote. And I know there was something about Jacob maybe was supposed to throw one on Zach and didn't. He got nervous about something. But yeah, that everyone, yeah, I was shocked. It was so good TV to see like Allison does not count. Allison does not count over and over again. But I was shocked that no one threw something, because I think, oh, I don't know what I would. It's hard to say what you would do in this situation because you don't have the same nerves and stress outside the game.
So I want to give you my pet theory.
Okay.
I don't know if this is true or not. Jacob is good about putting comments in YouTube, confirming or denying my base speculation. And if whoever's listening in the chat, Drew, etc., feel free to correct me as well. We get some scenes of Zach, Maggie, and Allison. We get some scenes of the three of them strategizing together.
Yes.
And when Jacob goes up the vote, it's two things for him. He's like, I think there's still keys in your pocket, Allison. Right? He thinks she maybe played it. I think he's worried she maybe played an extra vote instead of played Shot in the Darks.
Yeah.
And he sounds like he's concerned that Maggie flipped and voted with Zach and Allison. And in that case, they have maybe 4 votes. And if the other side's going to do some sort of 3-2 or a 2-2, like 4 votes is enough to definitely carry the day.
Right.
And so I think out of fear of that or concern of that, he ends up voting for Allison.
Yeah.
That's my
it makes sense. Yeah, I think he's worried because if we split, then we don't have the numbers. We don't have so he's hoping for a bigger majority.
Yeah.
So yeah, he listened to his gut, and it didn't affect his game in any way.
Okay. So there's that post scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you watched it all. Where we see this very interesting conversation with Mariah. Well, Mariah's kind of just listening in, but it's Jacob and Allison talking with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes, and it does hurt that. Yeah, it's interesting because they're like, it's not. Allison's like, it's a fresh slate, essentially. But why did you not tell me that you did that? And
well, Allison kind of says like, but you voted for me. And Jacob's like, well, yeah, well, but you were going to be safe. And Allison's like, so you were okay with me going home over Eleanor? And Jacob just kind of like very seriously nods. And says, no, wait. They kind of immediately starts to backtrack and say like, that's not what I meant. But it's just this moment where he just like has this very intense look and he just kind of nods in confirmation. And then it kind of kicks in like, wait, no, that's not what I want. You mean a lot more than
be that honest. Oh man. Yeah, that was a rough moment to see. But I still think at the end of the day, if he was relying on those original blue, he's still showing loyalty, not splitting. Like he has a fair explanation on why he switched to Allison. You know what I mean? It's not.
And to me, he gives 2 shots in the dark. He gives 2 keys to Allison. That's. I mean, how many keys did you give up in Bloomington?
I think I gave John 1.
Yeah, and so you had 2 keys at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you couldn't give enough both. You just give up 1 to John. And granted, you just thought he needed 1 to get his extra vote play.
Right, to get it to happen.
Giving up a key.
Yeah, that is. It seems something. Like. Yeah, so I guess I'll be interested to see what was Jacob's. I think he's trying to play the middle.
Which is what he says. It's like, I had to vote with Blue. I had to put my name to you because I need to give this illusion that Blue Tribe's strong. You mean a lot to me. And I didn't want you to go, but I had to do it. I did it because I knew you would be safe. Right.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see where he goes next. Because Eric's still in, he's still in the a tight alliance from Red, so.
Well, I mean.
Or do you not think so? I don't know.
I think the problem is, I think there's a very high chance Alice and Eric are the ones that go home next when one tribe loses.
Fair. Man, but
so
see why? So why did Jacob do all that work to get?
I mean, to be fair, like I think if you get Allison to the merge, I think Allison kind of mentioned like I haven't been with Original Red for 36 hours. Right? I had that initial day one, night one with them. I'm swapped away. Danny and Ryan are voted out. Zach is voted out. I really can't bank on Original Red. I have to bank on Blue, and my closest connection now, for better or worse, is with Jacob and Mariah.
Yeah, it's hard for me to read how serious. Looking at my notes, it's hard for me to read. It's really hard for me to see anything apart from that 5 blue, because I feel like we hear it over and over again from different people, like blue strong, blue strong, blue strong. So it's hard. And Mariah, yeah.
I think what's interesting about this group of Blue is like there's a couple ways you can kind of break it down, right? We have like these swaps, right? So you have Jacob and Mariah were swapped together. Brittany and Eleanor are swapped together. And then Maggie's kind of like, I'm on my own, which is why I think her name is being kind of thrown out. It's like, hey, Maggie could just go home because like we have the least connection with her right now. She doesn't have any allies from her swap tribe.
Yeah.
But you also, this is what's fascinating. We hear a lot of people. Well, I think we hear both Brittany and Eleanor. I think we hear from Brittany, Eleanor, Maggie all at different points in time saying how much Mario and Jacob were important to their games.
Yeah. That's true. I have it written over again. I do. Where is it? I'm a mess of my mind.
Yeah, so I think like I'm kind of scan through my notes really fast as well. I think Maggie says like I want to work with Jacob and Mariah.
Yeah.
Jacob's my threat shield. Mariah's even keeled. I think it's Eleanor saying I was like day one, ride or dies with Jacob, or Jacob was my person from the get-go, I want to say Eleanor says. I can't. Yeah, and so it's interesting just like how well insulated both of them are, because neither of their names come up this episode at all.
Yeah. It's great. And and going back to these relationships, you have Eleanor and Brittany who have been together this whole time. Like that's power to know someone you've been with from day one over and over and over that you can rely on and can read is huge. Another fun fact about Eleanor that I like is she has so many fun confessionals where you have a scene where someone says something and then she comes and says the exact opposite. So I always know I'm going to get the true tea from Eleanor. But one thing that made me worried that I hope she learned from this tribal moving forward, there is I can't remember if it's a confessional of her talking or even in a group. It might have been both. But she talks about like it's okay if Maggie or I get a vote because it doesn't matter if they play something, we've already have it split. And this show's like, no, Eleanor, you never want to be okay with your name getting even one, because even one would have sent Eleanor or Maggie home. So I'm hoping that she kind of takes this for the future. So she knows like whatever you do, try to make sure your name's not getting thrown out, because you never want to go home on just a fluke. That's like the worst.
Something else I like about Eleanor is we tend to start off with confessions from her.
Yeah.
And like we always like, if you notice, like we tend to start with Eleanor's kind of perspective on things, which I always think is interesting. I always think back to the moment where she and Devontae are kind of posing with each other before the camera before like things really get rolling.
Yes. You know something's about to go down.
So you have this dilemma. The Blue are going to stay strong, and let's pretend you're Blue, not a red chaos member. Let's pretend you're original Blue, because really you're a very orderly person. You make order out of chaos.
Yeah.
So you're original Blue. You have Zach and Allison. You have to. You're deciding between them. How do you decide on who should go and who should stay?
Man, that I'm gonna flip it on you, because someone talks about this, and they're like, Zach's the in-your-face open player. You can see exactly what Zach's going to do. Allison is this sneaky and scrappy player. Love her, but I don't know what she's doing behind the scenes. And so I can see that, yeah, you want to see what someone's going to do right in the open that you can kind of predict with less surprises. On the flip side, though, I just adore Allison. She's so fun to watch. Her personality is so bubbly, and you're just rooting for her. And the fact that she just had that idol play, like, so cool. Zach, I didn't know anything about him, and I've just fallen in love with him. He is such a sweetheart, and he has just these beautiful, genuine moments. Like when Brittany wins, he knows his game is going to be an uphill battle, and he goes and congratulates her. And then when she votes for him and she's just completely broken because the one thing she didn't want to do was, I can't do Zach again. It was too much. And then she's put in this corner where it can only be Zach in her mind. And he goes up to her and he's just comforting her. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And then we get this montage of all these special moments he's had in last episode or a few episodes.
It was a really, like, oh, this makes me think Zach's not coming back into the game with that kind of trivia. I'm like, oh, shoot.
No, it just like, so, well, I was like, man, maybe this is foreshadowing his winter montage here. We're seeing a little glimpse of a comeback, but my heart just loves them both. I would have to go to who I thought was telling me the truth the most, like in those conversations, even when they're scrambling. Who can I trust? It would have to go back to trust, and I don't know who I would say in the game. I think I would be, to me, and I don't know if it's just because I have knowledge of seeing her gameplay, Allison's more predictable for me. So I might stick with Allison, I think, in game. Because they kept talking about, oh, Zach has all these connections. He's going to get us all connected. And I'm like, yeah, that's why you got to get rid of him, because he's got so many connections. But you could say the same about Allison, too. So what would you do?
So when I initially saw this swap, I was thinking we were going to see a proxy war, right? Where Mariah and Jacob are walking in with Allison as this, like, pocket vote. And then Mac is coming with Zach and has that connection there. And I really thought Jacob and Mariah would do enough to protect and shelter Allison and force Zach out to keep kind of their +1. Right. So that's what I thought was initially going to happen. And that didn't happen at all, because everyone quickly was like, yeah, Allison just needs to go. Like, everyone's just on board with, like, Allison is sneaky. Yeah, Allison, we don't know what she's up to, and Allison needs to go. And I think, I don't know if it was just like, I'm curious how this came about. Was it just like, Zach is just that good at the game? That was just like, we can't vote on Zach, we like him so much? Or is it, does Allison just kind of give off that kind of vibe in game that made people kind of a little bit more wary of her? I don't know. Or just, did Maria and, like, Jacob just not, like, just kind of like stoke those rumors, like, oh yeah, Allison did all of this stuff on our tribe with her, that's how she survived? I don't know.
Yeah, I think there had to have been previous information put in their minds that Allison was sneaky.
But, like, I think it is a huge testament to Zach's game, where when there should be an easy split vote on you, there isn't, and no votes get cast for you. And that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, he worked those heartstrings. I think he has a great social game, and I think it's because I think he is genuine, but he also comes off as genuine in game too, and it just made them all feel like. And I think that he was so gracious from that last vote, and it kind of went wonky. He seemed so gracious, and I think they felt indebted to him too. Like, well, we don't want to put him in that position again. But yeah, Zach, it's probably the best for their games that Zach went home, because I don't think Allison's as sneaky as they think she is. But then she did just sneak 6 keys into the thing, so who knows?
Well, I think the person I think who's going to be most worried after this episode should be Savannah. Because I think Zach was a very tight ally with her.
Right.
Drew, I don't know how close she is with Drew. She might need to be closer with Drew now as a result of this. And then there's this like group of 3 original Red players, May, Joelle, and Taylor, who have never been separated. And can she work her way into that? Does she want to work her way into that, or maybe she needs to break that 3 up? I don't know. I think Savannah's game got a lot harder as a result of this.
I agree. I think I'm excited for Saturday to see how she fares.
So let's talk about advantages. So we know Allison has 4 keys. And do you know who else knows that Allison has 4 keys? Zach does. Now, I think it sounds like there's some question of Allison and Zach are maybe not sure how the vote's going to go, who's going home. But I was surprised that Zach voted the way he did with the knowledge that Allison likely has a 2/3 chance of immunity.
The only thing I could think of is we see it a little bit mentioned at the redemption episode when he comes. It seems like my read on it is that he felt like if I'm going to try to show these blue that I'm with them, I want to vote the way that I said I would. Because if I don't and stay home, I'm in a really bad spot anyway. They're not going to trust me. So was hoping those tries. And it seemed like he really, again, just genuinely cared about these people and wanted to stay to his word on an outside game level and just be genuine in that.
And maybe, I guess my only thought with Zach is like, what was the likelihood he thought that Allison would be safe and that someone else would go home and that he wasn't that backup. Like I know, like he's saying, like he was thinking like voting for Eleanor and then change to Allison, perhaps to kind of create those connections. But which leads to the next question of once Allison has 6 shots in the dark or 6 keys, which I think she almost has 7 because she gets or maybe she just has 6. She has 6 keys. She has full immunity, and she tells no one.
Yeah.
All right. Let me confirm because Drew sent me a screenshot from Allison. I'll read it out.
Okay, let's go.
I didn't tell anyone that I had 6 keys, nor that I was playing them for the theatrics of it all. Made it even better that I got all the votes. So you're welcome. Takes a bow. And I'm curious,
Well, she does. She comes from the theater world, so it did hit. It hit seeing all those jaw drops. I think even her jaw dropped, kind of realizing, whoa.
Yeah, I mean, from a viewer perspective, no votes count. Brittany cast a sole vote. We got an episode, right? It wasn't boring at all. But I wonder if was Zach the person Allison wanted to see go out? Who would have Allison wanted to see go out? And could she have used Zach to get Brittany, Eleanor? No, I guess not Brittany, Eleanor or Maggie out instead. I don't know.
Right. I'm thinking because they thought the votes were going to be split. They could not have predicted, I think, that all of them would have been on Allison. And so they're thinking if it's a 2-1, doesn't she lose? I thought she lost her vote to play.
She has no votes, right? So okay,
so she doesn't have a vote.
Maybe Allison is just these people will do a complete split vote on us, right? It'll be 3 votes on me, 2 votes on Zach, or something like that. Zach votes for me, so maybe it's a 4-2, and therefore me telling Zach I have this play doesn't matter. I mean, maybe that's just that.
Yeah, I think they could not have foreseen. They should have expected a split vote, and Zach just voting astray wouldn't have been enough to break what should have been 2 on Zach. So she might have figured it's irrelevant, and plus it's going to be a great show.
And maybe this is more
but where does that put her moving forward? Because now that just secures. They're like, yes, Allison is sneaky. Look here, spotlight number 1.
Allison sneaky, had 6 keys. Is kind of becoming that player you just can't get out. She needs to go, which is for Allison worst case scenario.
Right.
I mean, what Allison wants is the merge right here, right now, to open the playing field and make her instead of target number 1 the most valuable player that everyone is riding for, because she will be in the middle of these alliances, or at least these original tribes.
Yeah, that's what she needs. I don't know if that's what she's gonna get, but maybe more mischief will come her way and she'll get more keys. Or if they win immunity, like, sometimes the cards do fall where you want them to.
Any more thoughts about kind of the scramble, or before we talk kind of about some mechanics of the vote itself?
I don't think so. I do think no, I think you got all the highlights that I have on my list, so we can keep going.
Beautiful. So there are two things about the vote I want to talk about. Do you want to talk about the tie vote or the Mischief Makers first?
Let's go with the typo.
So both watching CBS Survivor as well as Bloomington makes you realize I don't understand a thing about the tie vote mechanics in Survivor, clearly.
Okay.
Because like when I saw that like no votes counted, I assumed just everyone would revote. Like it'd be like, all right, try again.
Yes, I also expected that.
Okay, good.
I asked Casey did they have to stop and like debrief with production to see what do we do, or did you just make that decision off the cuff? And he said, I just made it off the cut, like in real time. So what we saw is how it went, because I don't know what I would have done. I can see his logic, like I can see it, and I'm not too upset about it. Maybe if I was playing I would be, but I'm like, yeah, it can track. Like, but it doesn't seem it's Survivor canon.
Okay, yeah, it was surprising to me because like I assumed that all of them would vote and Zach probably goes home anyways, right? So like this, like the decision doesn't change. I think Zach still goes out. But it was interesting. It's like, okay, like
right.
So if this happens in the merge again, that the whoever's immune, or if someone plays an idol, whoever's immune would have the sole votes in that case as well. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I guess it just makes me be even more wary of just all votes on one person, knowing that you put all sorts of power in the hands of one player. And so,
right.
Rachel, did Brittany make the right decision then?
Man, I think she did for her game. Because now they have a unit against Allison, whereas before they would have to find a way to work with Zach and know that he's probably playing both sides and maneuver that. I think it also shows that she's loyal to her alliance. She's going to do what's best for the group, even when it breaks her heart. And I think that's going to matter to people in her alliance. I think they want to see that loyalty. And just again, that she's going to do what she says she'll do. They can count on her to follow through, even when it gets tough to do so.
I was thinking about our season.
But I felt so bad for her.
Yeah. I was thinking about our season. I think our season almost.
Sorry, you're cutting off just for a bit.
Oh. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
No. Is it me or you? Yes. Oh, you're frozen.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, you can hear me.
But you're still frozen.
Oh, I can see you on my end, but you can hear me at least, right?
But there's a lag.
Oh, then not much I can do about it. It's I blame the computer or the internet or both.
Okay.
So I was thinking back to our season of Survivor Bloomington, right? And we almost had almost all our pre-merge votes did go along tribal lines, except for like me going home. So I can't fault these players for also kind of playing out that way. And like in our season, the merge kind of really opened it up. I think it was very much tilted in Chaos's favor through majority of the merge. As a result, I think it would have been wild if Brittany took a shot at Jacob or Mariah because they're the most insulated in their tribe, but it just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, that would be a bold move, but also probably emotionally too hard at that point. I think she's felt the weight of sending people that she's really connected home, and then to just like blindside someone out of the blue. I think the guilt would have been too much in that moment when you know there's not. Yeah, and I think it could also throw some people like, why would you do that? Can we trust you? Are you really with this blue or not? But it would have been definitely had an interesting domino effect if someone like Jacob goes home.
So let's talk about the Mischief Makers. So it finally happens. We saw Mischief Makers in the game. And in true fashion, they immediately left the game.
Yeah.
So I was annoying Drew with these questions, just to confirm. So Zach receives a Mischief Maker from Danny at the voting booth. Zach then spends his 2 keys to buy the Mischief Maker. I guess we'll first ask, should Zach have played his shots in the dark? Or should he?
I think, I don't know. I think if he knew it was Allison or he played, how many would he have? He only played 2 keys. So I think buying the Mischief would be, I think that was a good risk. Because 2 out of 6, it's pretty floppy. You don't know what's going to happen. If he would have had 3 or 4, I would have gone with playing.
I mean, okay, let's pretend he knows
but
Allison
2
has
is
6
enough
keys.
that like, hey.
Yeah, let's just if he knew Allison has 6 keys.
If he knows Allison has 6 keys, he should have not played his keys. Buying Mischief was right, and he should have thrown a vote on someone else in hopes of staying and then using those Mischief powers either immediately or later, depending on what they would have been.
But he ends up buying them. And so let's kind of talk through these 2 Mischief powers. And so the first power he gets, if I remember correctly, this is essentially if you win an immunity challenge, you can give one other person immunity at tribal council as a surprise, which I think is really cool. What do you think of this?
Yeah. That's a big power for 2 keys. Like, that's a great gift from Danny. Send that person a card. like that could have been huge, and it's all like, man, now we don't get to see it happen. It's kind of deflating, but we'll see if someone else gets it. But that's a lot of power, and to do it right at tribal council, that can really turn things around if you're in a corner.
Especially as we know, there are individual immunity challenges pre-merge, right? And so like imagine if Brittany had that second immunity, and she could do, and she doesn't need to use it, but she could, right? You have that power and option. So I like that a lot. He also gets for his second Mischief Maker essentially a clue to a hidden immunity idol and the ability to spend 2 keys to buy up to 2 more clues as well.
Yeah, a little treasure map into the woods, if you will. So I like the theme of it. You know, you're hunting in the woods, you're going out for treasure. I love that it kind of stays on brand with the season.
And so what this does mean is there is a hidden immunity idol in this game.
But again, you can't use it immediately. Yeah, that's a big drop. And other people might not know that. There was a lot of question of if there was an immunity idol our season, and it didn't come up till later. So that's a huge power of knowledge that Zach has, but unfortunately we can't see all the way through yet. You know, something could happen or change with those. But I'm interested in those are both I had thought Mischief could be something that happened right now. Like, can I shake something up right now? I'm in a bind. Give me some Mischief. What can I do? But these both are like, you got to get through this first.
And I think it really supports the idea that if players had gotten these mischief powers early, it would have been like those. They have a lot more power having them early, and they're still good later, but they're like having a full 2 extra days to find an idol can make a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially if you know you have a goal you're looking for, and then like, okay, I find these keys, I can get more clues or try to work with someone and use that as an alliance builder. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if more people, like if this is just the beginning of the mischief, if people are like, wait, we really do need to be trying to do this because this is essentially the theme of the season. So you might want to buy in.
Well, I've confirmed logistics with Drew. So on vote out, Zach surrenders his remaining keys, 0. He surrenders both Mischief Makers, so he loses them.
Okay.
He has seen the map, right? So he knows there's an idol, and I believe he's seen the clue. So he has that knowledge. He just can't upgrade it to something else. So that is something that may be shared with people on redemption. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah. If that gives someone on redemption who gets back in a big advantage if they have a clue to a hidden immunity idol when you're coming in vulnerable. That's a big deal. So I'm excited to see how it will flesh out.
Anything else about this episode that you want to highlight that maybe we haven't talked about?
I think I like this. We see this theme of different players I had to take a step back. I had to really, there's a lot going on. I'm going to take a step back and really plant my way forward. And we see Maggie do that. And I just really think that's pivotal. It's like you get so caught up in the moment. You just want to do what's keeping you safe. But I think it's so hard to take that step back and think, okay, if I do this, what are the implications 3 votes from now, 5 votes from now? And it can just be so hard to do when you're anxious, you're stressed, you're scrambling. But they had the advantage of they had that overnight to really take a moment. And I think that's going to be key because they're going to key, if you will. Maggie seems like this is her plan. Like she's like, okay, I'm in. And I think Maggie is one of my favorite players watching this season. Didn't know
she looks
her before.
Completely different with her hair tied
but
up.
She's been able to maneuver so well. What?
She looks completely different with her hair tied up.
Yeah. But sometimes I see her and she's in a black tank and a gray hat, and I'm like, wait, how did I get there? Like, you'll see it, but it's not me. It's Maggie. So, and then I also loved the point of this idea of Myra talking about there's being safe with someone versus being with someone. And she's like, I don't know if I feel safe with Jacob, but I'm with him. But she also knows she's only with him to a point. So you can see, again, a few of these players, they've taken a step back and they're thinking, okay, where am I now? Where am I next? And then where am I post-merge? And how I'm going to lay my path to the end. And so you can see, like, okay, they keep saying strong blue, but you can see some threads starting to unravel just a tiny bit in preparation of when that next move or potential blindside might be made, or who do they want to really be sitting at the end with. So I thought that was just a kind of a pattern I picked up on with a few different players of stepping back, kind of getting the ground laid for what's next.
All right. So I think next up, let's look at some gifts.
Yes. These are fun.
And so this first gift, this is Brittany's confessional, where we talk about this early on in our discussion, but where she says, I'm still me, like, and how much winning this challenge and coming out here has meant to her so far.
It was so good. And it made me think back there was actually she talks a lot about, like, I didn't know if my body would be strong enough, and I don't know if you know this, Steven, but when you have children, your body changes in ways that never go back, and it's something you wrestle with. So it's not even a mental, emotional, physical, it's all of those together. You change. And I remember this moment where I was paired with Brady on a challenge, and we had to like keep the box steady, and my body just wasn't strong enough, and we fell out, and I just cried because I was like, I want my body to be strong again, and it wasn't. And so it's kind of the antithesis to what Brittany experienced, and both are still good, but I get that point, like, you're still you somewhere in the depths. It's there, and even when you're not strong enough, you're still there, and you're still fighting for it. And I just love that raw moment, and then it made the gift. That's okay. Yes, I wrote that in my notes. That was great because I actually recently reread through Hunger Games, and I like did the new prequel that was out, and I was like, yeah, I'll send you a sponsor. Get that box going.
I mean, so someone asking for a Survivor to be more like the Hunger Games just cracked me up because they're like, what a dangerous thing to ask for. And you know, in the age where we can live stream these games, right? Because a lot of games are live streamed. You could have something like this where the fans can influence the game. Now, I had that in my Real Foot game, and it was terrifying. But you can do something like that nowadays.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if I know there's been some Hunger Games org, so not so bloody, but yeah, online Hunger Games, but I haven't. Yeah, there are some twists in Hunger Games that could be safely implemented into some Survivor LRGs. So producers, take note.
All right, so this next gift, this is
that's
Allison.
so good. See, she had that line ready.
I love Mariah's reaction.
Oh my gosh,
here.
was she like? Yes, it's so raw. I love when Allison later, when she's like, like, I did it, like, guys. Like, she knew it was going to be good, but she didn't know it was going to be that good. Yeah, there it is. She's like, guys. Oh, yeah, the little, like, that is something I would do, like, the spaz, like, I love it.
And I love like, the moment Zach's so happy for, even though he's like, oh gosh, this is the worst thing that can happen for me as well.
I know, because he's such a good guy. He's so happy. I'm sure he's brokenhearted on the inside, but like, so genuine. Most genuine award. Zach gets it every time.
And so this is one of the scenes where, like, we see Allison with Zach and Maggie, and like they're doing the finger thing, right? Where they're trying to figure out what the numbers are for the play. It just always makes me laugh.
Yeah. The math is mathing. I think it speaks to Maggie's ability too. Again, she's there with these two that are on the bottom, but she's still working it and wanting to get in on what could be done if they get together. What might they be trying to plan so she can have all the info.
So in this last part, we're going to do the blooming points. And so for viewers and listeners and Rachel as well. So how this will work is you and I will give 3 points to a player, 2 points to a player, and 1 point to a player. And we'll start with our ones and move our way up. And I don't know who I'm giving points to, but would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first with my 1 point?
For the 1 point, this is hard. I'm going to say I had so many notes of noticing what Maggie's gameplay was. Like, it wasn't big and flashy. She knew when to step back, but she was still in all of these conversations. So I'm going to give my 1 point to Maggie because she's doing the work, and I think it's going to pay off.
I'll give my 1 point to Brittany. I think it was a great immunity win. This was an emotional episode, but I think winning the immunity kept her name out of the conversation, which I think is really important given you kind of mentioned this. We're starting to see kind of splintering of the Blue Tribe, but we're getting an idea of the factions in the Blue Tribe. And so I think not having her name out there is going to help a lot with that. And Drew, I hope you're listening. You're annotating all this to your spreadsheet because I'm not doing that right now.
All right, 2 points.
2 points.
I'm so head and heart right now because it's between Allison and Brittany, obviously. My mom heart wants Brittany to have all 3, but my logical heart cannot deny Allison's excellent gameplay. Okay, 2 for Brittany because she's a strong mom and she's getting 2 points and she should get 10. She has babies and she's playing Survivor and she's winning immunity challenge with her biceps. Come on, let's go. 2 points. Conversation over. Who's yours?
I'll give my 2 points to Allison. I think Allison's in a rough spot. Allison doesn't have a lot of agency, which is something we talked with Eric last week. His game was very straightforward at this point. But Allison recognized the best time to play 6 keys, got keys from an ally to do so, was immune. And so I think, I think this was a good play for Allison. I think this is the best possible play for Allison. We talked a lot about, could Allison have clued Zach in? Could something else have happened? And I think we came to the conclusion of, I don't think she predicted everyone voted her. I think she truly thought there was going to be a split vote plan like a rational human being. So what can you do?
What can you do except for play all your keys and get an idol and get 3 points for your Bloomy podcast episode? So I'm giving Allison 3 because I don't know. It's probably my dream to pull something like that off, but I never would. And I'm not sneaky, y'all, for future games. Just to have that moment, what a highlight. I mean, I cannot imagine just the high of coming off of that. And it is true, she'll have work to do, but she's been backed in a corner and she's made it through. So why not do it again?
My 3 points will go to Jacob.
Okay.
Now, I guess let's talk about 2 other people I wanted to consider, and then I'll talk about Jacob. So honorary shoutouts to Zach and Mariah. Mariah being one of the most insulated people in the tribe. People want to work with her. No one's throwing her name out. No one's gunning for her saying the Survivor player has to go. I think Mariah is playing a fantastic game. And so I was very tempted to.
She's doing so good. And she's another strong mom. Let's go, Mariah. She's a strong mom. And she is the other one other than Maggie that took the step back. Yeah. And one of my favorite, I'm jumping ahead to quotes, but spoiler, it goes back to that safe versus with someone. I just think that was so good. So I could totally see honorable mention Mariah and Zach. I'm giving redemption Bloomy points. Those are a thing, and he gets 5.
Yeah, in any other world of a swap where there's no sort of keys or shot in the dark, Zach is safe. In fact, Zach was so safe there was no votes on him.
Yeah, I think he goes deep. If he doesn't go here, I think he goes deep. And that's almost why he needed to go here for someone else's game. But why Jacob? Tell me more, because I love Jacob too. So let's hear it. So
Jacob, I think, has been playing phenomenally this season.
He's
I feel like he's played hard from the get-go. He's been at the heart of this Blue Tribe Alliance. We hear throughout the episode, everyone's like, Jacob is someone I want to play with. Jacob is my number one. Everyone says good things about Jacob. Now, there's been some things that Jacob has done that I haven't been a fan of, but they've been small things, and they clearly haven't incriminated or mattered. When he caught that one vote at the last Tribal Council they went to, he just looks at Mariah immediately, and Mariah's like, I don't know. Things like that, clearly, you're not hearing repercussions of that. And I will say, I think that, like we said, the low moment with Jacob this episode was Allison's like, would you keep Eleanor over me? And he's just goes like, yes, solemnly.
I know.
Yes.
That's why I don't know about 3 points. I don't know about 3 points with that one.
Like, that was not a good look, right? But I will say he's in the majority. Allison has no choice but to work with him. And so maybe, yes, that might come back to haunt him, but not immediately. He's at the center of the tribe. He preserved an ally, gave her keys. He won this proxy war. And I think it matters, like, if he can get Allison to the merge with him, I continue to think, despite that mess up, she will be a huge issue because he has this emotional intensity to him that really is bringing people in and wanting to work with him. And I think he's doing a phenomenal job. It's just, there's these things here and there. I'm just like, oh, dude.
Tiny hiccup.
That, he's played great. So I think this episode, like, yes, it was Allison's star moment. She couldn't have done it without Jacob and Jacob using her in that sense. And again, like, again, there's also Jacob's misread and there's this confrontation there, but I still think overall 3 points for I think player of the episode.
All right, let's go. I think you see him really taking the time to reassure and not just talk strategy, but like, hey, we're good. And I think that's important to do throughout the game, especially as emotions get higher and higher. Just reminding, like, we're good. I've got you. But it can be hard to stop and do that when so much noise is going around. For Jacob, I think my concern for him is maybe because I think when he has these hiccups, it's often due to nerves.
Yes.
And so I don't want him to get nervous or anxious and have a hiccup that would cause a bigger problem. But I think Jacob is playing a great game. There's no doubt.
So, Rachel, that's all I have. But you maybe said you have a quote or two from this episode that stood out to you.
Oh, yeah. I just still, going back to Mariah, like, I just think there's not a lot better that says, like, she said, I don't want to say I'm safe with him, but I'm with him and he's with me. And I think that is such a good quote that expresses this dichotomy of Survivor and alliances is you're really with someone until you can't be with them. You're not exactly safe. You know they could betray you, but they're with you for now. And for now, that has to be okay because it has to get you to these steps. But when does it become not okay? And when are they not with you? And when do you need to not be with them? So I think I've talked about it 3 times in this podcast. So sorry for the repetition, but that just got to me. I kept thinking about it. Did you have any quote highlights or?
I brought gifts. No quotes, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's okay. The gifts kind of had the still me, all those. So I feel like I have said somehow I think we've covered everything on my notes. So go us. Successful day.
Rachel, once again, thank you for taking the time to be here to talk all about Bloomington. I love having you on here. Is there anything you want to plug or shout out as we wrap up?
Well, I've been in some recent interviews even though I don't make the decision, but for the Mole Ohio, Tim is currently deciding who will be the mole. So you can stay tuned. There will be episodes releasing for that. And I get to be on-screen host, and I just love it doing that with John. And then did casting stop for Bloomington? Do you have like one more day for season 8?
I think casting may still be open. I don't know. I haven't been following. Right. No, Instagram told me that I think it's still open for a day or so.
Okay, so if you haven't applied, guys, apply. Get into the Mischief narrative. We want to see you, and we want to see what Casey can do with his amazing creativity for season 8. Can't wait.
Yeah, I heard KC was maybe scouting locations like San Antonio, Texas. Anyone? It's practically Indiana, let's be honest.
I was like, I have a backyard with 1 acre. How many people can we put on?
The true twist of the season right there.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Next episode of Surviving Bloomington will drop tomorrow. And so I'm excited to see what Casey has whipped up for us because he has kept us on our toes and it's been awesome. And I think the merge is near, but we shall see. Rachel, again, thank you so much.
Bye, guys.